I'm Haley from Legends of S.H.I.E.L.D., a podcast member of the Gonna Geek Network, just like the one you're listening to now. The opinions expressed are those of each individual. Check out all the other podcasts at GonnaGeekNetwork.com and get ready because geekiness begins in 3, 2, 1.
This is it. The part of your week where you get to put your headphones on, relax, and listen to a bunch of geeks geek out about geeky things. They're passionate.
As a Canadian, I will say that more than likely, I'm just going to get screwed another way. That's the way it always works.
They're knowledgeable.
Maybe that's where life began, on MU69. We don't know.
And sometimes they're a bit angry.
Skype, I'm breaking up with you. It's not me, it's totally you.
Gonna Geek Productions presents the official GonnaGeek.com show.
Hello and welcome to episode number 208 of the official GonnaGeek.com show. I am Stephen Jondrew, and with me, of course, is Chris Ferrell.
What's going on?
We've also got with us Stargate Pioneer.
Life could have began on Enceladus instead of MU69. Just keep that in mind, folks.
Are you sure about that, or is that just something that you're making up right now?
I don't know. It could have. That's what I'm saying. We don't know.
Well then, you know what we should probably do? Fire you.
Bye.
All right, we are here with another official GonnaGeek.com show. This is 208. I think I might have said 29 at the beginning. You know, whatever. We'll just gain a number. Why not? But yes, we are here today with our official GonnaGeek.com show. And you know what we like to do with that? We like to talk about all of the crazy things that are happening in the world of geek. That's right. It is time to talk geek. It is time to talk chaos. It is just time to get crazy.
That's how we roll on Gonna Geek on Monday night. We get crazy.
All right, so let me ask you this question, Stargate Pioneer.
Quest.
If I was a red bird going 100 miles an hour, leaving Texas, and I was a blue bird going 1,000 miles an hour, leaving Australia, when would we intercept?
What direction are you going? What's your heading?
You're supposed to know everything. You're NASA.
You need to have a vector. You didn't give me a vector.
No.
You just gave me a velocity.
You are NASA, and you, my friend, are supposed to always be tracking everything that I do.
I do track everything that you do, but this is imaginary. This was brought up in your head, and you're wearing your tinfoil hat, and you've just CGI'd it out, so we can't peer into your head tonight.
Oh, that's a fair point, and one that we probably should not talk any further about because the aliens are going to get me.
They already have.
Yeah, they already did.
All right. If you weren't familiar with us, we are found at youtube.com/GonnaGeek. That's where you can find the GonnaGeek.com show and a whole bunch of other geeky content. Well, guess what? You might be saying to yourself, Steven, I want to have my gear stuff separately. Well, guess what? You are in luck. That's right. We have gone and spun off to a brand new channel. You can go over to www.geeks.link/GonnaGeekGear. That's geeks.link/GonnaGeekGear. And that's where we're going to start uploading all of our gear related stuff. We thought it was about time that we separated off. So on the main Gonna Geek YouTube, you're going to see all of this beautifulness, all of that you see right here, plus a whole bunch more amazing podcast/vidcast/vlog content. And then you're going to go ahead. And by the way, that vlog was for Cody Goff. Then you're also going to go to geeks.link/.
Whoa. Don't just drop that. The verified Cody Goff.
Sorry. The verified Cody Goff. And then you go to geeks.link/GonnaGeekGear. And if you want to see the unboxings, the reviews, the way Stargate Pioneer just takes all of his equipment that he doesn't use and runs it over at geeks.link/GonnaGeekGear.
You forgot that I throw it in the bathtub first.
You take a bath with it, or you just throw it in the bathtub?
Why not? You know the microphones? You know the screens on the microphones? They make great back scratchers and like loofahs. they're great for it.
Yeah, well, you know what? We'll just go ahead and wait.
There are ridges on here.
Yeah, see? It's
I was going to say, we'll just wait for that video to show up, but hey, whatever you want, SP. It's your show.
It's already out there.
You're going to let that one go where I said it was your show?
It is my show. Exactly. This is the GonnaGeek.com show starring Chris and SP with the monkey flipping the switch, Steven. That's
All
what
right.
this whole show is about, right, Chris?
He's our producer gremlin.
That's true. I won't deny that.
Emphasis on
We
gremlin.
Steven just played me off.
This week, we're going to go ahead and start off with our news where we're going to talk about how Nintendo Switch is outselling everything else of all time.
Yeah, so I've been a little critical of Nintendo lately, mostly because I threw my little tantrum on the internet about the SNES Classic pre-orders and how it was all just jacked up and I didn't like it. Well, real quick side note before we get to the real story, Reggie Fils-Aime, who is the president of Nintendo of America, came out and said, you shouldn't pay scalpers more than $80 because there's going to be plenty of SNES Classics out there. Please raise your hands if you believe him. Anyone? That's what
I don't have hands
actually
anymore.
cut off my arms before I answered that.
Mhm.
That's fair. Although they did also say in 2018, the NES Classic will return to store shelves too. But let's get to the real story about why Nintendo's kind of having a pretty good rebound year. If you guys aren't familiar, there's a group called the NPD Group that's responsible for capturing all of the sales numbers and things like that for console video games and things like that. Well, they released the sales report for the month of August, which revealed that the Switch has once again outsold both the PS4 and the Xbox in the United States to take the top spot in console sales. This is the fourth time in the past 6 months the Switch has earned the title, while the PS4 beat it out in May and June. So while it has become the console to beat ever since it launched in March, PS4 is still the best-selling console of 2017. We don't know what those numbers mean, but we do know that Nintendo is trending upwards. So the real question is can Nintendo keep pushing out Switches on a regular basis to try and take the 2017 crown by dumping out a ton of Switches between now and the holiday season? I think they've got a chance. It's going to be very interesting to see what happens. But regardless of who wins the crown for 2017 sales, it's really interesting to see. Hardware spending year to year dropped 6% in August, but total hardware sales are actually up 17% to $1.7 billion so far, in part to Nintendo's resurgence, the upcoming launch of the SNES Classic, and Microsoft dropping the Xbox One X. It looks like console sales are going to be up this year, built on the back of Nintendo, and possibly with a little help from Microsoft. Very, very intriguing.
So let me ask you this, Chris Ferrell.
Go for it.
If I was a red bird and no, I'm just joking.
Oh, damn it.
Are you happy with your Switch purchase?
Am I happy with it? I am more happy than I expected I would be, because when I bought it, I figured it'd be a Zelda machine, and that's it. Mario Kart 8, fantastic. Splatoon 2, fantastic. By all reports, Mario Rabbids, which was contracted out to Ubisoft, very good game, and I haven't had a chance to play it yet, but that sounds like it's going to be good. Next month, we've got Mario Odyssey coming out. Nintendo has been real strong in the games they've been putting out, and they're actually getting good first-party support. Like NBA 2K18 just came out on it. They announced that the upcoming Doom game and Wolfenstein games will also be ported over to the Switch. So it's getting the support that the Wii U never got. I'm happy with it. I like the idea of picking up my console and playing a video game anywhere I want. And it's even better when we want to use the shared TV for something and I still want to play a video game. I just pluck the Switch down and just play video games. It's wonderful. I am happily surprised with just how good this console is and how much I've enjoyed it.
So, Chris, let me ask you a question. Can you play the Switch while driving your car?
Theoretically, yes. Would I advise it? No. Now, if you're a passenger, play away.
Can you play the Switch while climbing a West Virginia mountain?
Potentially, if you're walking on a trail in which you can just kind of keep half an eye on the path, you could theoretically play the Switch. Now, what you might enjoy more is taking the Switch in your bag, and when you get to the top of the mountain, you sit down, you play some video games for a few hours, then you walk back down the mountain.
Here's another question. Can you play the Switch in the Microsoft Xbox aisle at Best Buy?
Oh yeah, go ahead. If you want to get real crazy, what you could do is take the HDMI out from the Switch and plug it into the HDMI in on the Xbox One, and you could play your Switch on the Xbox TV app. Then you can get real crazy, SP.
Okay, we have a listener question in the chat, which, by the way, if you are not watching us live when we record this at 8:45 p.m. Eastern time on Mondays at www.geeks.live, well, then I'm sorry for your loss, because really, if you have ever wanted to heckle us, that's the time to do it. And Kent J asked the question, can you use your Switch to figure out the intersection point of a bluebird and a redbird?
I'll defer to Steven because he's the expert on blue and red birds here.
I don't have a Switch, unfortunately, so I'm not sure.
So let me rephrase it for you. Can you play on your your Pixel phone at the intersection to figure out the intersection of the red and blue bird?
No, Alexa will tell me that.
Oh, you can't say that word. You're going to trigger people's devices. Come on, man.
Thank goodness I've got my headphones on, Steven. Foiled again.
Plus, you know what? We could also go ahead and just switch it over to where you'd have to say, computer, subscribe to the GonnaGeek.com podcast.
Oh, no.
I'm sorry, Steven. There is no Gonna Gleek podcast.
So Kent did ask another good question there. He goes, now, is it true that if you plug a Switch on an Apple device, it charges the Apple device? Theoretically, because it's USB-C, you can use a device to charge another device. I've done it before with my Nexus 6P. You could, and people have done it before with, say, laptops and things like that. They have charged their laptop over a USB-C cable, pulling power from a phone and things like that. So because of USB-C and following the USB-C spec, theoretically, you could use your Switch to charge another device. Yes.
That's pretty cool. I had no idea that you could do that. So learn something new every day.
Live and learn. Now, we don't know anything about red and blue birds. I'm sorry, but that's all Steven's thing. He'll figure it out for you one day. That is the promise I'm making on the official GonnaGeek.com show. Steven's going to figure out where those red and blue birds intersect, and he's going to tell you all about it in an upcoming episode.
You know where they're going to intersect? On the Voyager space probe, because NASA is going to steal them and send them in there in the past. Boom.
I see what you did there. I see what you did there. Well played. You win.
All right. Speaking of winning, you know who is winning is Bose, because they are getting some wonderful feedback. And basically what they decided to do was go and jump the gun with a brand new product. That's right. People have been theorizing that there's going to be new Google Assistant based headsets coming out and all this other stuff. And guess what they did? Well, Bose went and they released one into the wild. That's right. They've showed up just suddenly on the Best Buy website, where you can actually order these Bose headsets that have Google Assistant built in. Now that's really cool, because obviously it's another way that you can get yourself some Google Assistant. So if you want Google tracking your life, well, fear no further, because while your phone may be in your pocket, hiding, making sure Google can only hear a little bit of a muffled sound, then you know what? You're wearing your Google Assistant headphones where now it can hear the world. So yes, these are a thing now. And apparently they just, like I said, released them at Best Buy. And this is the first of the Google Assistant sort of headphones. And it hasn't even been officially announced that these sort of products were coming, but it doesn't really matter that much that it wasn't announced, because it's Google Assistant, and Google Assistant is finding its way to all sorts of third-party accessories. So just a matter of time until something like this happened. And guess who did it? Was Bose. So I think that's kind of neat. I don't really have a use for it myself, but apparently it's going to integrate with like reading out messages and stuff like that. So that's kind of handy, but I just could pick up my phone and read it as I'm walking and then walk into the pole as well. So, you know, that's what happens.
There's a lot of theorizing. This kind of got leaked bits and pieces about Google Assistant headphones a while back. And a lot of that came out strongly when we found out there was supposedly not going to be a headphone jack in the Pixel 2. And this was Google's initiative to kind of soften that blow, was these Google Assistant headphones.
SP, what's your thoughts?
Well, another death blow to the 3.5 millimeter headphones jack in mobile devices. Absolutely. there's going to have to be some increase in Bluetooth capable devices, both in longevity of the battery and of availability and price, because we've seen it already with the cell phones. They've already increased in price over the years from the original iPhones, which let's face it, the iPhone was the original smartphone, all the way to the $1,000 price mark that we're seeing today. And I just don't want all the accessories to do the same thing, like the watches, the Google Glass, which doesn't exist anymore, the VR sets, the headphones. You know, it's this stuff I didn't need 30 years ago. I'm glad we have it today, but it's getting kind of expensive to pick all this stuff up.
I gotta say that I just don't see the need for this yet. Maybe they'll show me that there's a reason why I need this, but at the moment, I just don't see the need of a Google Assistant headset. And maybe once Google Assistant just builds my confidence a little bit more, I might, but I just don't get it. Don't get the reason right now.
It's a Me Too thing. Remember, when Apple put out the AirPods, one of the things you could do is you could tap one of them specifically, and I believe you could trigger Siri through it. So literally, it's a Me Too thing. Apple built their Bluetooth earpods, or AirPods rather, so Google's doing the same thing. It's just continuing the arms race is how I look at it.
But this isn't a Google thing. This is Bose.
Well, remember, Apple said, we'll open up all this Bluetooth spec that we're doing for this so that other vendors can use it. The only people you see using it is Apple and Beats, which is Apple. So it very well could be Google doing the exact same thing, only they did open it for others to use, or they partnered with Bose to do this. We don't know a ton about these devices yet. Probably find out on October 4th when they talk about the Pixel 2 is my guess.
All I gotta say is anybody who watches football knows that Bose is a sponsor of the NFL, right? So
is Microsoft.
Exactly. And we knew what happened when Microsoft brought their technology into the play. We got some amazing people like Bill Belichick throwing tablets across the field. So one can hope that Bose brings their assistant into the game, and we could also see Bill Belichick throw a headset across the field.
Real key is, can Bill Belichick steal signals from the opposing team's Bose headsets?
You know who would probably do that? The Seattle Seahawks, because they also are cheaters. So I mean, are cheaters.
I don't care. I don't watch the NFL anymore.
Oh, you know what? The Seattle Seahawks. Okay, I won't go on. I won't rant about them this time. I will save that for another podcast. I hear that Chris Ferrell is doing an NFL podcast starting next week.
Sure, why not? Let's do it. You want to do it with me? I'll produce. You gotta be voice talent though.
What am I gonna do? Are we just gonna talk about random, like,
all you have to do is talk about how much you love the world champion New England Patriots, and you'll get a gazillion listeners.
I quit. I can't talk about the Patriots like that. I'm done.
Oh, okay. Well, let's just go ahead, and speaking of being done, let's go ahead and move on to find out why NASA is done with water.
NASA's not done with water. NASA is finding water. And we've got the first map of water on the moon, which is going to aid in future solar system and lunar exploitation too, I guess. And in this article over at space.com by Samantha Matthewson, she runs down what exactly happened here. So there's a general trend of increasing water towards the moon's poles. And this was ferreted out by a map that was generated by a couple of different satellites. So what happened is NASA's L-Cross satellite in 2009 discovered traces of water and related molecule called hydroxyl, which basically consists of hydrogen and oxygen in soil on the moon. So building on this theory, researchers from Brown University used that data from the NASA's Moon Mineralogical Mapper to create the first map of water concentration in the soil's top layers. So, by the way, this is nothing new. This goes back to March of 1998, in that the NASA / SDI program probe Clementine indicated that there's enough water on the poles of the moon to support a human colony. So that goes way back there. It was done via a bistatic radar experiment. There's some controversy, by the way, as to whether those results were true or not, but it doesn't matter because L-Cross and the Moon Mineralogical Mapper kind of confirmed it. So we're all good there. Anyway, going back to this specific study, Sean Lee, who's the lead author of this study, said in a statement, the signature of water is present nearly everywhere on the lunar surface, not limited to the polar regions as previously reported. The amount of water increases towards the poles and does not show significant difference among distinct composite terrains. Now, this recent study shows that the water concentration in the lunar soil reaches an average maximum of about 500 to 750 parts per million in the polar regions, which, you know how much that is, Chris? Just take a guess. Is that good or bad?
It's good.
I gotta guess. It's 1.5 times a GMC Sierra.
Oh, no.
Oh, wait. That has nothing to do with this. Never mind.
You know what? I did not guesstimate the total weight of water on the moon. That would be interesting. I'll have to do that and see how many GMC Sierras are up there. Okay. But what this 500 to 750 parts per million is, guess what? It's less than what is found in the dunes of Earth's driest deserts. So it's not much, but at least it's there. So the other key researcher is Ralph Millikan, and he said, we don't know exactly what the mechanism is for this fluctuation. What he's talking about is the water is drier in the afternoon and wetter in the morning, and it fluctuates back and forth at about 200 parts per million. So they don't know what the mechanism is for this fluctuation. And Ralph goes on to say, but it tells us that in the process of water formation in the lunar soil is active and happening today. This raises the possibility that water may reaccumulate after extraction, but we need to better understand the physics of why and how this is happening to understand the timescale over which water may be renewed. So basically they're saying water's coming up to the surface and they don't know if it's being deposited from underneath the surface or maybe deposited there by solar wind. But in any event, it seems to be recharged. So this is a maybe renewable resource on the moon. We'll see. Now, if you want to catch the findings, they were published on September 13th in the Science Advances journal in an article titled Water on the Surface of the Moon as Seen by the Moon Mineralogy Mapper, Distribution, Abundance, and Origins.
So obviously this is the Vulcans, clearly.
Or the Cylons.
I was thinking Romulans.
Yeah,
Romulans.
Oh, those dirty Romulans.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I just have to say that it's clearly something that NASA is covering up, because we don't just suddenly have water there. And not only that, but it's not like we actually have been there before.
Well, that's the point. We don't know where this water is coming from. Like I said, it could be being deposited by solar wind, in which case we have water all over the solar system that's being condensed on the moon, or it could be bubbling up from the ground, like groundwater, like an artesian well here on Earth. So we just don't know where this water is coming. If it's from the ground, the moon is losing an awful lot of water every day, and we might as well capture what we can before it's all gone.
Can we sell it?
Yes. Yes, you can sell it because it's rocket fuel. It's got hydrogen and oxygen in there, and you can use the water to live off of, to drink, to use as fuel for crops. I mean, there's all sorts of great things you can do with this. Yes, of course you can sell it.
If people are going to pay extra for sparkling water from the Alps, just imagine what they'll pay for sparkling water from the moon.
That's Elon Musk's real drive to get the Red Dragon to the moon.
Now you know. Now you know the scam. So what we need to do is put water in a bottle and lie and say it's from the moon, and then put in small print, moon equals rock in Steven's backyard, and we can sell that for gold money.
Yeah, we don't have to lie. We can create a truth, like this bottle was bottled under moonlight or under the light of the moon, and the light of the moon could be like a backlit Panera, whatever, the picture of the moon in a glass setting. So you put an LED light behind it and you shine it down, and then you bottle the water underneath that. So you don't actually have to lie. It's just all in the marketing.
We'll just pour it down the moon on Conan O'Brien's set, on the set of Conan. Problem solved.
Can we feed it to redbirds and bluebirds?
Oh, damn it. No.
There are no
My brain hurts.
birds on the moon. No birds on the moon. Just a big dog from the Inhumans.
Okay, so speaking of the Inhumans, what if I wanted to watch the Inhumans once it's available for home release on Super 4K? Could I do
You're
that?
funny.
Could I do that?
No, because no one wants to see that crap.
That's a fair point. Okay, but hypothetically speaking,
It's true.
if I wanted to buy myself a 4K movie on Apple TV, how much would that cost me?
Oh, if you want to buy it on Apple TV, this is kind of cool. It's only going to cost you $20, which is the same price as the 1080p version. And if you've bought a bunch of 1080p movies in the past on Apple TV in the iTunes store, you get a free upgrade to the 4K version now, assuming it's available. It's a move that Apple made. It was talked about at their big announcement last week that all of the 4K content, $20 a pop for movies, which is huge because if you're like me, I recently upgraded to a 4K TV. I have an Xbox One S to play 4K Blu-rays. They're 25 to 35 bucks a pop, and Apple is setting the bottom end of that price range now, saying $20 for a 4K movie. That is awesome. And from a consumer standpoint, I'm really hoping it puts pressure on other folks like Amazon and Vudu, Google Play stores, so that their prices become roughly comparable to what iTunes is doing. I'm sure Apple's taking a bit of a loss to sell those, but I'm super intrigued. I really want to see it go to a device I have. It is certainly not enough to make me go buy an Apple TV because I have way too many set-top boxes already. I do not need yet another one.
I had a question about this. I'm not sure whether or not it's going to include, like, we talked briefly about the free upgrades. That's going to be something that I'm curious whether we're going to see free upgrades in 4K with the stuff that you redeem. Because I know if you buy it, you get the 4K for free. But the other thing that I have to say about that is, even if that's not the case, $20 is not bad considering, isn't it like $15 American regularly right now?
Wait, what's $15 American? You lost me for a second there.
The digital download, isn't it?
The digital download for a 4K movie, if like you try to go through Google or Vudu, is 25 to 30. It seems like the disc itself can range from 25 to 40 depending on what it is.
I meant the download.
Yeah.
Okay, how much is a regular then, non 4K in the America
Regular,
prices?
$20.
Okay.
15 to $20 depending.
Yeah, so this is pretty good. This is a good
it's not
score.
bad at all.
SP, I know you're all about 4K. What's your thoughts?
I don't own a 4K TV yet. I'll wait till it goes down in price before I grab one. But I did watch a few minutes of my Vikings losing, and they will no longer be called my Vikings, but they were losing to the Pittsburgh Steelers. And I was disappointed at the resolution that I was receiving on the faraway shots. Like the up close shots were very good. They were very crisp and clear on my 1080 55-inch TV. But you pull it back to the stadium shot as they're doing the play, they're setting up for the play and they're just doing the whole shot. That resolution is really bad. So if 4K can help stuff like that, okay, I might eventually consider doing it, but I'm not going to do it today. I've got cell phones to buy.
So the thing you've got to keep in mind with a lot of these 4K things that are coming out is a lot of them are not filmed in 4K. A lot of them you're lucky if they're filmed in 2K and then they digitally upscale. So there's actually, the website's on my iPad. I can't remember. It's like real4k or fake4k.com or real or fake4k.com, something like that, where they break down the visuals behind these movies and tell you whether it's actually worth it to buy the 4K disc or not. So that's actually a really good site to go with. Like Guardians of the Galaxy was not filmed in 4K. I think it was filmed in 2K in most cases, and the special effects rendered in 2K. So they're having to do some upscaling. That being said, I've watched a few movies in 4K now with the 4K Blu-ray player. I watched John Wick, the first one, was awesome in 4K. I've watched a few other things. I pulled up The Martian, and even though it wasn't filmed in 4K, those Martian landscapes sure look pretty in 4K HDR. So there are some noticeable differences you can see. I'm at the point now where I'm not buying everything in 4K, just movies I really like in 4K, like Spider-Man Homecoming, pre-ordered on 4K because I love Spider-Man, so I have to have it in the 4K version. Why not make use of everything I've bought? But it's not must-have yet. It's just nice to have. But the fact that Apple's setting their price to this point, That's huge from a consumer standpoint. Remember, they did the same thing with MP3 downloads back in the day. They said, hey, we're going to charge 99 cents. You guys need to get on board because this is going to be what people want to do. If they can apply that same pressure and have the price point to 4K digital downloads move to $20, huge win.
There's also an important thing to remember with the 4K digital is that you got to get yourself that file somehow to your computer, i.e. streaming it, i.e. bandwidth, i.e. even if you're using offline and you're downloading all that. That is a lot of data. And if you're watching all 4K, that's going to add up really quickly. Because I did a quick Google and I'm seeing a bunch of different things, like a couple articles saying that Netflix 4K is about 16 megabits per second. I'm seeing some saying that other services are upwards of 32 or higher. That's a lot of data coming one direction. So if you are streaming 4K that is upscaled 4K that isn't really 4K, is it really worth all of that? In the chat, we had Albert Sims say that he doesn't buy digital. He just doesn't trust the cloud yet, and so he only buys physical. I gotta say, I'm the same way. I haven't bought anything digital yet because I don't trust the longevity of it. I know with my Blu-rays and my DVD players, as long as I have a device to play those, I've got those unless they get wrecked. And so will I prioritize looking for something that has a digital download versus not attached to the physical? Yes, I will, because I think that that's super convenient and I've just started to really adopt that. But it also, I would rather wait the couple weeks and get the physical media myself.
Yes, the whole game of buy it digital 3 weeks early. I'm just like, no, because I can pay the same price in 3 weeks and get both physical and digital. And worst comes to worst, I can watch the movie once, redeem the digital copy, and be like, I don't care about this, and I can give it to my buddy, the physical copy, or I can sell it on eBay for $10 and recoup a little bit of the cost I spent on it. So I like digital because partially I'm lazy. So if I'm sitting on the couch and go, I really want to watch Star Wars, I don't want to get up and get the disc, I'll push the Vudu button or the Google Play button, and I'll just throw Star Wars up that way. Yes, streaming is not the same experience as using the physical media. It's not quite as crisp and clear because it's slightly degraded, but it's still pretty good.
And in the chat, Anthony Bachman does point out that if you're buying digital, you don't actually own anything. Apple could just turn off iTunes and everything is gone, which is absolutely true. You're licensing it.
Correct.
So I have the physical copies of the Stargate SG-1 DVDs, all the 17 seasons. Or is 17 seasons. I have all of that. But unfortunately, my son, who is 1,000 miles away, wanted to watch the first season of Stargate SG-1. So I was like, I wonder how I can get this to him. Like, he wanted to watch it like right now. So I went over to Vudu and the entire season was on sale for $15. I was like, okay, I'll do it. So I put it on my Vudu account. That's one example of buying digital and how you can use it as a distribution means for family members or friends if you happen to have them. I don't, but if you do, It could work.
Well, and one thing you can also look into doing if you're a bit more technically inclined is you can build your own PC to basically be a server box or whatever, and you can put Plex on it. And as long as you're not breaking encryption, you are allowed to make archival copies of your own DVDs and things like that. So theoretically, if you own Stargate Season 1, there's not encryption you have to break. You could rip copies of it, put it on your computer, use the Plex app to throw it to any of your devices that have Plex on it. Now, there are people that do also break encryption to put their own stuff there. That's where things get a little bit shady. DMCA pretty much says you can't break the encryption, but if you're making an archival copy, who's going to know? So use your best judgment.
You know, one of the things that I really like, though, about physical is just you have it in your hands, and sometimes you get special things, like you get the steel box. I like that. I've really been really liking the steel books lately.
Oh, you're buying into that now?
I won't buy them anymore because all of a sudden they went up. There was a sweet spot for about the last year that it was only a few dollars more to get the steel book, but now they're really bundling it with like Ultra HD, and I don't need Ultra HD because I don't have 4K and I probably won't for a while. So anywho, I'm not doing the steel book now, but there's other times that you get like a really cool box or something that you could just put on your shelf for your favorite movie ever. So that's also possible too, which is one of the most favorite things that I like about physical media.
I would flip you the bird right now, but you'd have to pixel it out. So just imagine I'm doing this so hard right now, to quote the Moonanites.
I have no idea what you're talking about. Audio listeners are lost too.
Yes, it's because Steven put Man of Steel on his shelf.
Yeah, I'm going to be your play-by-play man here. Steven has put his Man of Steel box up on his shelf with his microphones behind him. And Chris, of course, hates Man of Steel. It's not that bad of a movie. I like it, which is like one of the very few Zack Snyder movies I like. So yeah, I'm okay with that. But Steven, that can't be your favorite Steel box.
It's not even a Steel box. I just put it up to troll Chris. So let's just make that perfectly clear.
Here, I quit. Take me off the show right now.
All right. At last in our extra as Chris is retiring, apparently Sonos has updated their terms of service and has indeed included information that seemingly confirms that they are indeed bringing the Amazon Echo service in to their Sonos speakers. That's right. The terms of service was updated and there is breadcrumbs all over the place about that. So that's pretty good because that was the rumor for a while. And let's be honest, Amazon Echo would be a really good fit with Sonos.
Whatever speaker Amazon Dot goes to, it's an increase because the speaker on board that little thing it's sad. I mean, it works like if it's next to your bed and you're using it as an alarm or as you're waking up, hey, give me the news. But if you want some decent sound out of that, you need a speaker. And if you don't already have one, why not? Sonos would be good.
The interesting play they have going on is the Fire TV line is getting refreshed, and the newest Fire TV that is not a stick is basically going to be an Amazon Voice Services device that has the passive speaker and all that in it, the buttons you see on the Dot, everything like that. So when the TV's off, you can still use Amazon Voice Services with that, and you'll also have an IR blaster in it, so you can tell it to turn on your TV. You can tell it what you want to watch, and this is supposed to be hitting the Amazon store any day now. It already leaked, so you can go to The Verge or any of the tech blogs out there and read about the new Cube that is the new Amazon streaming box that has Amazon Voice Services built into it, like how we're used to, not where you have to pick up the remote and hold down the button.
That's pretty cool.
Can you link it to your Harmony account?
I have no idea in that regard. I believe you have to configure the infrared stuff on the device, but we don't know anything about it yet. It literally just leaked and they showed pictures and a little bit of description, so who knows?
See, Chris, I know you. When you say leaked, you're like, I've got one and I'm using it right now. So I know how this works.
Actually, I have a need for one more device, but it's not pressing because total first world problem. When I want to put one in my garage, so in the winter, when I'm shoveling snow and the like that, so I can get to work, I can just come down there and tell it to play the radio so I can hear all the road updates and things like that and not have to worry about it.
Shovel? What is this shovel? I have a blower. I don't know what your problem
my
is.
My driveway's not big enough to justify a blower.
An electric blower? Of course it is.
Nah.
I will say that I know you're talking down your reason for it, but honestly, I think that is one of the realities that people who are wanting to really adopt voice assistants, they need to accept the fact that they're most convenient when you have multiple of them. And so I don't fault you for that at all. And that's why I never invested in the Google Assistant model, is because they don't yet have a cheap version. So with Amazon Echo, you do have the cheap options, but I'll just wait and see what happens. So I don't fault you, Chris. For once in my life, I don't fault you.
Thanks, boss.
All right, well, let's go ahead and get into a fun little segment that Chris cooked up. Yes, indeed. Chris Ferrell did think this up, and it was such a genius idea. Last week, there was an interesting announcement that came out from the one and only Apple Incorporated. That's right, Apple did debut the iPhone 8, the iPhone 8 Plus, and the iPhone X, which was actually a 10, which was actually a 9. But you can go Google all of that yourself and figure that out, and it's actually a 7. But anyways, go check that out. Lots of cool things happened, and we got talking offline about phones, and we were chatting back and forth because he's got his toe dipped in the water. Stargate Pioneer was full on looking for a brand new phone, and even the legendary guest of the show, Suncast, is also looking for a phone. So we had some good chatter, and Chris came up with this idea.
So it's actually Suncast's fault, really, because we were talking about in a group chat all the stuff coming out of the iPhone announcement and Suncast, like, I really wish I could see a comparison on these things. We started trading images and talking different specs on the iPhones and things we'd read. So that's when I kind of realized that between all of us that are on the show and the guests we've had on the show, we like to dabble a lot in all these toys. So we read up on the different phones, read up on the different gadgets. And we've always got a running list in the back of our mind of, well, here's what the devices I'm going to buy next if I had to buy one today. If I drop my phone and it shatters. So this is kind of a chance right now. We've had almost all the major phone announcements. There's only a few things pending, like the LG V30 release date and the Google Pixel 2 announcement, the official release dates. So we can kind of throw out our ideas of if we were going to buy something today, what would it be and why? And maybe give you guys an idea of where we're coming from on these different phones, these devices, how we prioritize elements of them, and kind of help you guys make your own decisions going forward, or make fun of us for making poor decisions in your mind. It could be fun either way.
Absolutely. So let's go ahead and start off with Chris Ferrell. Chris Ferrell, walk us through your decision tree.
So my decision tree, I am like SP, very, very wanting a headphone jack still, because the situation where I am is I can have my phone at work, but I can't have Bluetooth on. I can't have Wi-Fi on. I don't want to have a dongle that I'm going to lose, or a dongle that prevents me from charging my phone while listening to things. That being said, it's not a must-have for me. So on my list is I wanted to have a headphone jack, ideally. Not a must-have, but a nice-to-have. So I was looking at the Galaxy S8, the Galaxy S8 Plus, the Note 8, things like that. And I was going, man, the price is just so high on that. I don't want to spend $800 to $900 on it. And there's various discounts so you can knock it down. But I do kind of want to go the flagship phone route. And why do I say that? Because it ensures you're going to get at least 2 years of life out of your phone. You buy one of the mid-tier phones, about a year in, it's going to slow down. It's not going to start working right. So I want to go Android. I want to go high-level spec. And I started digging around and I was like, well, there's got to be a bunch of stuff coming out soon. And LG dropped in Berlin at one of the conferences there, the LG V30, which basically looks like a Note 8, but the corners aren't quite as rounded, has a headphone jack, water resistant, wireless charging, has a SIM card tray that'll also do an SD card. It has a pretty nice camera system built into it. It's got good video, good 4K video recording capabilities, and they have priced it in Korea to be about the equivalent of about $150 cheaper than the Galaxy S8. Now, here's the catch. There's no price announced in the United States yet. It hasn't released in the United States yet. But if I had to buy a phone relatively soon, I'd be looking at the LG V30 because it checks off everything on the list. It's running a new version of Android. It's on the roadmap to get Oreo. It's running the most latest version of Nougat. Headphone jack, waterproof, good screen. It's by one of the big companies out there. That's the way I'm leaning right now. That being said, I'm not in a rush to go and buy a new phone. This is just a thought exercise for me a lot of the time. I like to look at the research on these things, like to read what they can do and say, okay, if I need a phone tomorrow, this is what I'm going to go with. Right now, my Nexus 6P, knock on wood, still going strong for the most part. I'm not one of the people that's been afflicted with random battery issues. Although if I'd bought from Google, I almost wish I was, because if you go and look at the 6P Reddit, if you bought a 6P from Google and you're having battery issues, they're now replacing them with Pixel XLs, which I'm really jealous of. I did not buy from Google though.
Really?
Yeah. I should have bought from Google instead of Amazon, but it was too good a price to miss when my Galaxy S6 crapped the bed. And maybe that's part of the reason I don't want to go Samsung again. So for me, LG V30 if I was going to do it, but it's not yet released. It's sometime in the next month, supposedly.
Cool. That's a interesting decision for you. Stargate Pioneer, would you like to go next, or do you want to save yours for last?
Yeah, I can go next. Look, I'm looking for a phone. If I'm going to spend anywhere from $600 to $1,000 on a phone, I want it to last a while. So I want it to last like 3 years. And my iPhone 6 Plus has lasted 3 years. Probably actually could make it another year, but it's really beginning to slow down and piss me off. So I've decided that I am definitely going to get a new phone, even though it's probably going to be one without a 3.5 millimeter jack. But that's okay, because if you take the wireless charging capability, then you can charge while using a dongle, which, yes, you can lose, Chris, but you can charge while using a dongle converter to go to the 3.5 millimeter if you need to. So I can use it for podcasting. Okay. And then I need something that's going to have a lot of storage because we take a lot of video for family stuff and it just ends up just ballooning on the phone. I need a lot of storage for podcasts. Believe it or not, podcasts still have a lot of storage. That's, well, at least I do because I listen to so many. So even a 50 gigabyte or 50 megabyte file, you have like 500 of them. It adds up. So I want 256 gigabytes of storage or more, but it looks like 256 is like the most you're going to get without going to an Uber micro SD card right now, which are prohibitively expensive. They exist now, I've heard, but they're like $600-700. So, okay. I want a great battery. I want something that's going to last all day, at least for now, so that in a couple years from now, I get some sort of a battery pack, like they're available now and I can use it. But I want something that can get me through a day, and not just for me. I'm talking about family members too, because I got kids in school. I've got family members at work, that sort of thing. It's hard to get a hold of them when their phone runs out of battery. So the more battery they can have to get through the day, the better off it's going to be. I want it water resistant. Why is this? Well, first of all, got a family lake place that I go off to at least once, if not several times a year. And it's just nice to know that, hey, if I'm on the dock and that phone falls down, I'm going to have to go down and get it, but at least it's not going to be ruined. So it's down to what, 10 meters or something like that. That's IP67 spec. So I want something that's what, if it's available now today, that's what I want. I want something that can assist in family connectivity. Right now, iOS is where everybody is. I mean, like my extended family, my sisters, my parents, everybody, they're on iOS. So that is definitely a consideration, probably the overriding consideration right now, unfortunately. I want something that has connectivity with wearables, active in sports, or they're at work, family members, and they've got the wearable on the watch, so they can connect that to their phone and go all day and not have to take the phone out of the pocket. That's an interesting thing. And then I want something that the operating system is going to be supportive through the life of the phone, as Chris brought up. So if you take all this into account, there's a kind of limit, especially if you do the family connectivity thing. And by that, I mean like FaceTime. Yeah, that's still, that pesky thing is still out there, still used. So it kind of limits my options, but I did go to Best Buy. I did take a look at all the phones that were there. And I was with a friend who had, get this, guys, a Windows phone. He had a Windows phone.
And those still exist?
Yeah, he had an active Windows phone, and he looked at me and he goes, I would keep this, and the OS is still supported. Matter of fact, Microsoft just released a mobile OS update. He said it's still being supported by Microsoft, but guess what? Apps aren't being supported. So I need a new one. So we were coming at it from two different perspectives, so I kept an open mind on everything.
Like a red blue bird and a blue bird?
Oh, damn it.
There were gray birds. There were purple birds. There were even a few pink birds. So yeah, there was a few birds. So I looked at the Note 8. I looked at, and I want a phablet too. For myself, I want a big screen because eyes are getting old, big fat fingers. I've got a lot of issues working against me. So I want the big phone and I want the big screen for when I actually have to do work on the run. I can put a Bluetooth keyboard up to there and actually word process on the cloud or something like that. So, okay, that's doable as well. And I looked at the Galaxy S8. I looked at the Nokia 8. I looked at, or the upcoming Nokia 8. I looked at the Pixel, did some research and talked to guys about the Pixel. We looked at all the phones, and I think my friend's going to go with a Nokia 8 when he eventually upgrades in the next couple of months. I, on the other hand, because of the family connectivity, because we're already there, I took the hit and I ordered, for one kid, I ordered the iPhone 8, and that is a replacement for an iPhone 6. So that was launch day. She's going to get it this Friday, and we're going to see how that goes. Now, I hemmed and hawed a little bit, but in the end, I was like, I need something because I'm running out of storage on my phone. And I thought, well, I can try something down the road, but right now I'm just going to stay exactly where I am. I'm not going to buy any new apps, and I'm going to go with an iPhone 8 Plus, not the 10, the 8 Plus. Now, I did take a look at I believe the Note 8, and it's got a similar sort of screen as the iPhone X. So I got to see the 5.8 or 5.9 screen in relation to my phone, which is a 5.5 screen. I'm like, I don't understand. How do I get that extra 0.3 or 0.4? Because the phone is the same size. It's the same width. And how does that happen? Well, it happens because, first of all, the bevels are gone. And second of all, the corners are rounded. So I don't know how that works with a case. I haven't seen a case like that either. So I don't know. Do the cases go over the beveled edges?
You don't get cases.
No, you get cases. They do cases for all those curved phones. It's just the cases are sunk in to meet the curve at the bottom.
Yeah, so they're not going to cover the edges, right? But they're there. They're just not as protective as an old case.
I did have another question that actually Jondrew on the Jondrew Says podcast asked today, and he went searching for the same thing, and he came up with the same answer I did, which, can you put a case on a wireless charging phone and still charge the phone?
Depends on how thick the case is.
We've heard both answers, and I don't know what the answer is going to be.
Charging phones with cases on with no issue.
Yeah.
If you can't have like an OtterBox on there and be able to wirelessly charge. But
I use the OtterBox cases because I know I'm going to drop this thing.
You don't need an OtterBox. All you need is a small little protective, as long as it gets the corners, unless you're like wanting the true elements. But yeah, it is a mixed answer. Absolutely. When was that? That was our Nexus 5. Like, what was that? Like 5 years ago we had wireless charging, Chris? Wasn't that what that was? Yeah. Oh, that was
Nexus 5 had it. My S6 had it.
Oh, that was a long time ago that we had wireless charging. And yeah, absolutely. Some of the stuff works, some of the cases don't. So it does definitely depend on it. It's the same thing with, if you think back to like some of the controllers, like I had Wii controllers that had the induction chargers, and those little thin Wii condoms that we used to call them, they didn't have a problem with it at all. But you kind of couldn't go much thicker than that. So absolutely, it is of mixed results. But yeah, good job, Apple. I'm glad you finally got the wireless charging.
Right. Okay. So the other thing of why I did not go with the X is the facial recognition. I am not a fan of the facial recognition on the iPhone X. So we'll see how that is implemented in November, because I guess the phones are coming out till November.
I've heard the X is going to give it to you.
I see.
He got it at least.
Someday I'm going to have to introduce you to my X, Chris, and we'll go from there. But yeah, I don't know. The X, honestly, the X scares me because of the facial recognition, because of the inability to put an OtterBox case on it and get the full screen resolution, so on and so forth. So that's another reason why I just went with the 8 Plus for now, especially on the heels of the Equifax data breach. It's just, I don't feel comfortable with the X. And maybe that's me being a fuddy-duddy. I don't know.
I don't mind that aspect, but
let me play devil's advocate. It's the same difference as really having your fingerprint on the phone too. It's secure in the exact same way.
Or, having a camera in front of you at all times.
It's tokenized and pretty much hashed so that you can't go backwards from it.
But at least with the fingerprint thing, I can put my PIN in. If it's only facial recognition, as I evolve into the Fly, it's not going to be able to recognize me.
Well, you'll have your PIN still. Yeah, that's a
I'm not going to be able to push the PIN with. Okay, yeah.
Use your proboscis, I think is what it's called. That attachment that comes off the face.
I will say that there are some things that I am concerned about with the X, but I think that that's a solid choice. And the X, given the fact that it is the first version that has the facial recognition, I agree with the assessment to wait right now, because
Windows had it 3 years ago.
Yeah,
Windows had it 3 years ago.
Right, but it's the first version of Apple, so for all we know, it could be super buggy. I would wait. Absolutely, I would agree to wait on that unless you're desperate and willing to roll the dice, like some people are. So, cool decision, SB. Any other comments before I give mine?
No, I'm sure you guys will ride me forever for making this decision, but I will say that I did give Android a serious look this time. And even though I'm, I guess, locked into a contract or whatever for 2 years by doing this, I am prepared in a year or so, for me personally, to jump from the 8 Plus to the Note 9 or the Pixel 3 XL or something like that. So I'm not going to stick to my guns on this for 3 years. Although that's the plan right now, I'm going to be a little open because I really didn't want to make this decision this year. I really didn't want to make it last year. I guess I would have gotten a Note 8 7 last year if it was available. But now I'm a little bit more open. And even though this is like $1,000 for me, I'm willing to take a little hit on it. Maybe do a phone trade-in or sell the phone or something like that in order to get another phone if something makes more sense next year.
Yeah, no, that's fair. And while I start my choice, I will tell you that for me, I'm only looking at Android phones because I like Android. There's just things I like more about it. But I am the first to say there are a ton of people who a iPhone is a far better fit for. I am with what Chris said last week. Phone wars are silly. Are there things that I will argue are better about Android for certain features compared to their equivalent on Apple? Absolutely, I will. But I will also say that Apple is a great fit for some people as well. So I don't fault you for that, SB. For me, the key things that I like with the Android is the perfect Google integration. Google has my life. They know me. So who cares? Might as well just let them fully adopt me and track me, and I'll get paid a little bit for it. I also really like the extra flexibility with some of the apps, like the Wi-Fi analyzer, the Wi-Fi transfer, the way it's actually you're navigating into a proper OS type folder menu. I love all of that there, and just some more flexibility in general with other areas of Android. So that's why I stick Android. Now, with that said, what am I looking for phones myself? Number one, want a fast phone. Obviously, I don't want to be sitting there waiting for things to load. So that's going to leave it as sort of current gen, looking for a decent, really good camera. Looking for reasonable storage options, timely updates. And that is an important thing on Android because some of them, they make a phone and then the manufacturers forget about it. So timely updates are a priority for me. I want a clear display and I would like water resistance. Nice to haves for me on the other flip side is wireless charging, an SD card. That's still a nice to have for me. USB-C, it should be standard. There still are some that are not USB-C, weirdly. And then waterproofing is a nice to have. Like I said, I want water resistance. Waterproofing is a nice to have. Things that I don't care about anymore. I will be the first to say it, flog me, whatever. I do not care about the headphone jack anymore myself. I'm okay with the dongle. I'm willing to accept it. That's the way society's going. I don't care anymore. The other thing as well that I don't care about is the visual or color of the phone. I don't need it to look sexy. I don't need it to look pretty. I put a case on it. If it looks pretty, I'm going to do what I have with my Pixels. I'll put a clear case on it. If it's not pretty, I'll go ahead and I'll get a case that looks a little nicer for me. So those are things I don't care about anymore. So based off of this, I went to my carrier's website because if I was to buy a phone today, I would primarily do that. And I looked at what was available. I ended up narrowing my list down to a few phones, keeping in mind that ones that intrigued me but didn't make the list were the Essential phone and, of course, the OnePlus, but those are not. Those are ones that I just don't know enough about yet as far as people who have actually used them firsthand. And I think it's very important that I talk to people who have used these phones firsthand before I make a decision, because there are just some things that you get in life by talking to somebody who's used the phone, i.e. I always credit JS for telling me how amazing the back fingerprint reader was. His moment of appreciation for that sticks out with me forever because he's like, it's the best thing ever, and it is the best thing ever. So those are why those two phones are off the list, which leaves me with the Samsung Note 8, the Samsung S8 Plus, the Samsung S8, and the LG G6, because those out of the ones that were available through my carrier, those are the ones that intrigued me. Now, the price tag's Canadian on them. The Note 8 is $1,300. This is 64 gigs. The S8 Plus is $1,115, 64 gig. The S8 is $1,035. And then the G6 is $904. And of course, that's pre-credits that you would get for renewing your contract, but still, that's your base price. The Note 8 and the S8 Plus are obviously bigger phones, and the S8 and the G6 are smaller phones. Now, the G6 is actually a 32 gigabyte phone, not a 64. But they all have the micro SD, so I'm not super concerned about it. The Note 8, I will rule it out right away out of the list. Out of my list, as I was starting to narrow down, the Note 8 I will rule out because the price tag is just too much for me right now just as a Canadian. It's just too high. I don't need the things that SP talked about. And quite honestly, I just think at this point here, I don't want to give my money to the next series in the Note line. Honestly, after the fiasco of the mishandling of the Note 7 last year, I purposely would elect, if I was choosing today, to not buy the Note 8 out of that, with that reason. I just didn't like what they did last year with the Note 7. So that leaves me with the S8 Plus, the S8, and the LG G6. So what comes next with narrowing down that list a little bit? Well, they're all IP68 certified, so they're all waterproof, which is cool. That's one of my nice to haves that I have. The LG has a bit bigger battery with a 3300 milliamp hour battery. The S8 only has a 3000, and the S8 Plus has an S5, or sorry, the S8 Plus has a 3500 milliamp hour battery. Now, keeping in mind, the S8 Plus has a bigger screen. So truthfully, if I'm honest with myself, I'm going to eliminate the S8 Plus because I like the size of the smaller phone at the moment. There's only been a couple of times that I've thought to myself, the Pixel XL would have been nice. And it's for reasons that have nothing to do with the size. It's to do with my VR headset that my wife got me last Christmas. It would have been nice to have the higher res. Aside from that, I'm pretty comfortable with how the phone fits in my pocket. I don't really need the bigger size. So that's where I'm sitting there and I'm like, let's take that one off the list, which leaves the S8, the Galaxy S8 and the LG G6. Now, the G6 price tag is super appealing because it is lower. However, if I'm honest with myself, the Super AMO LED of the S8 would win me over because the LG G6 is still not a Super AMO LED screen yet. And while I think that they are highly overrated, I just think that the extra pop is nice to have, and the occasion where you really do need the Super AMO LED, it would be super nice to have. So ultimately, I would pay the little bit extra money to go with the S8 out of that list. But that's not the ultimate question, because if I was looking today, I would buy none of these phones because I would wait for the price on the LG V30 and the Pixel 2 announcement. And that's where I would sit unless I was desperate. I would not buy any of those phones. If it was out of that list, I would buy the S8, but out of that list, I would wait for those two to be announced.
Yeah, if you're an Android user, the V30 is the thing to wait for right now to see what the price point is, because it's got the AMOLED screen. It's equivalent to an S8 with a slightly less curve on the body of the phone and a fingerprint scanner on the back placed well.
And there's another thing that I really want to stress right now is that I think that updates are super important and highly underrated by a lot of people. A lot of companies don't update their Android with the latest security patches that Google is putting out. Could you imagine if your Windows computer was not getting updates anymore? That would be scary. And it is scary when you reach end of life.
It's called Windows XP.
Exactly. So that's something that, for me personally, if I am looking at a Samsung product or a Google product, and the Samsung product does not have a, oh my, I must have this feature is like make or break it for me, I must have that, I am willing to pay the same price for something that is made by Google that has a little less features than the Samsung, because of the fact that I am getting updates regularly with Google. My Google Pixel, I get updates all the time. My dad has had various Samsung Note phones, and it is amazing how far behind he is with the security updates. I love the fact that with my Google Pixel that I get my monthly updates. I got the 8 upgrade, and then I ended up like a week later getting a patch on it. You know, Samsung's still trying to get that out to some of their devices. I absolutely think that people need to prioritize updates and being aware of security. And so that's why I would wait to see what the Pixel offers and what the LG V30 has. They had a pretty good update history, not as good as Google, obviously. So that's where I would definitely wait.
Remember, they used to be a Nexus vendor also, so they've got some experience with it. Granted, I think their last one was the 5X that they were involved with, so we're talking a gen before Pixel. Or did they do the Pixel? I can't remember now.
No, they didn't do the Pixel. The Pixel's HTC.
HTC, that's right. Never mind. But there's rumor that they're doing the Pixel 2 regular size.
I think a Pixel 2 XL is the rumor. I think
Man, I'm getting them all backwards tonight.
Maybe it's
Sorry,
wrong.
guys.
I could be wrong. Well, there are rumors they're doing one of them. I think it's the bigger one. So
Yeah, there's rumors all across the board as to who's doing what, and it's starting to get real confusing. But thankfully, we're only like 3 weeks away.
awesome. Well, that was a fun exercise, and we hope if you're trying to decide, that helped you with your decision tree. I will say, no matter what it is that you're looking to do, I encourage you not to feed into this whole Android Apple war thing. No, make your list. What are your nice to haves? What are the things that you are okay to give up? What are the things that you don't want? And just make a decision based off of that. That's important. And you will know what phone is best for you. And look at the price tag, because if you're willing to save a little bit of money and possibly not have the phone as long, you might even look at last year's models. I'll give you
That's true.
And I'll tell you this, from an Apple perspective, let's be totally honest. I've kind of dodged around the shots earlier tonight. Is the iPhone 8 is essentially an iPhone 7 Plus. So if you're sitting there and
7S.
7S.
Sorry, 7S. Yes, sorry, 7S. Thank you. If you are sitting there and you're like, but that's the iPhone 7 and it's the 8 now. That's so long ago. No, if you look at it, it really is a 7S. So if you traditionally buy the previous generation iPhone and you're just afraid because of the big model number, don't worry about that. It is basically a 7S. So there you go.
It is. It does have the same chip, the A11, as the X does. And I think the camera in the Plus is the same as going in the X. So there are some similarities, but if you stick with the 8 or 8 Plus, you're sticking with the 7 body. So I mean, that's what it is.
One final thing for you guys to consider if you're in the phone market right now is, remember, Apple phones hold their value a little bit better than Android phones when you go and look at the secondary market. So if you're really on the fence, or you're like in a situation where SP is, where you kind of need to get something now, you can always get something now, and then you can go and look at different sites. There's, of course, like eBay and Gazelle, but the one I recently found was Swappa, which is where I found people selling their used phones. They provide a lot of pictures, answer a lot of questions for decent prices on there. Because Cody Goff was talking to us today about looking for a phone because he's looking at moving to Project Fi, and we found some decent stuff there. So if you've gone the Apple route, you can always turn around and try and sell that phone at a later date, make back 2/3 to half to 2/3 what you spent on it, and then put that forward towards a new phone. So that's not terrible either.
No, that's kind of my mindset at this point in time, because I wasn't entirely set on the 8 Plus, but I was forced into, I need the more storage, and it's starting to slow down. So I kind of want it. This is a want rather than a need, I guess, for this next year. I wanted to move up to something, and I'll be okay to let this 8 Plus go for another phone next year. So we'll see. We'll probably do this again next year and see where we're at.
We spend way too much time looking at these gadgets and trying to put ourselves in the thought of, ooh, if I buy, what am I going to get? Because I know for a fact, Steven and I have traded messages before. Oh, did you see this cool new device? I don't need it, but this would be really cool. So it's a great thought exercise for us.
How much time do people spend at work saying, oh, I'm looking for a new car? And then boom, this is getting to the point where it's at that level. You can buy a car for how much money you're putting into these phones these days.
Here's the problem with this phone price is I used to be like, I'm going to buy a laptop every 3 to 4 years or 4 to 5 years for $1 to $1.5 grand. And now we're talking that same price almost for cell phones that for me don't tend to go past about 2 years before they crap out. This price point's starting to frustrate me. I'm hoping the mid-level tier starts to advance enough where it's pretty much good enough for 90% of what I want to do.
Well, the good thing about Apple's announcement is that they did create a mid-level tier for the general consumer, right? And now, there's not much difference between the 8 price point and the 10 price point if you go for the higher storage option, at least. But there is a price difference, and it'll expand. I think it'll expand as you go into the future. So I think it will create that mid-level market.
Nope. It's the same. It didn't create anything. They added a higher tier. That's what they did. They added a higher tier. They didn't create a new tier. Creating a new tier would be saying, what did we sell it at last year? And let's bring it down. So I refuse to give Apple that endorsement because that was not courageous. That was greedy.
Well, and
Hey,
Steve Jobs would hate the fact there's like 5 variants of the iPhone out there now.
That's true. It's true. No, I'll go with it. I think it will create a mindset in the other manufacturers that, maybe there is a market for a slightly less priced phone, and maybe we don't have to go for the higher, more extreme level all the time. I think it's entirely possible. We'll just see where it goes next year. Now, if it just goes up and up and up, I mean, I think at some point in time, they're going to price themselves out of purchasing. Like, there's going to be people that can't afford to get a new phone. So people like me who have a phone that's operational after 3 years will decide to keep it for another year just because they can't pay for another one until the next year.
Awesome. Well, that's going to go ahead and take us towards the end of the show. Before we wrap up, we'll just remind you that we are part of the Gonna Geek Network. And also on the Gonna Geek Network is a plethora of shows, all which cover a bunch of geeky content, many which their source material is coming back pretty quick here. We got television shows returning. So please check it out at GonnaGeekNetwork.com. And most of these shows do cover things in the off season, so you should check them out. I personally am starting to get into the Netflix series. I just finished Jessica Jones season 1. I finished Daredevil season 1 a little bit ago. I'm into Daredevil season 2 now. So absolutely, I regret not doing that sooner so I could follow along with some of the shows on the network.
In full disclosure, these shows aren't coming back. These shows have been out for years that Steven is catching up on. So
yes, sorry, that's true.
He's a little bit behind. Yeah.
Sorry if I was misleading there. But for episode 207S of the GonnaGeek.com show, I'm Stephen Jondrew saying come back next week for 210.
I'm Chris Ferrell, and I have a gear addiction.
I'm SP. Way to go, Apple. Yay.
I love his excitement.
I'm actually naming next week's 210. That's going to be it. It's going to happen. We're going to skip over 209. Bye.
Thanks for checking out another episode of the GonnaGeek.com show. If you enjoyed it, please give us a 5-star review in iTunes or a thumbs up on YouTube. We encourage you to send your feedback by email to show@GonnaGeek.com. You can find our entire archive at GonnaGeek.com/show. And while you're there, why not check out all of the other geeky content on the Gonna Geek Network? Want to chime into our live chat? Join us Mondays at 8:45 p.m. Eastern at www.geeks.live. The music heard on this show is by Kevin MacLeod of Incompetech.com. This show was produced and edited by Stephen Jondrew of Gonna Geek Productions. Thanks again for joining us, and we'll see you again next week.